Hi, have you ever experienced a mood that just didn't make sense to you? I'm not talking about because you have a headache, so you're like, "Arr," or something else that you know is coming from your brain. I'm talking about something that's just out of the blue strikes you. You suddenly feel weepy, or you suddenly feel aggravated, or just there's no real reason that you are aware of that's causing it. Obviously, some things that happen to us as far as our emotions are because of genetics. Things that happen in our brain because our genetics are maybe off kilter a bit. Or maybe there's a chemical imbalance or something like that. Or it could be because something bad happened to us and we're ruminating on it a lot to the point that we just can't move past it. Then we don't sleep well, and then we wake up in the next morning, we're grumpy, and it can become this whole cycle of misery that becomes self inflicted after a while. Because when the event has passed, but you're still lingering on it, you're still in that event, aren't you? And that's your choice whether you realize it or not. But that's not really my focus. My focus is on the other things that can mess up your mood. Now, I'll start with what I think. Sorry, it's very hot here. Got the fan blowing in. You can see right behind me there. Got the fan blowing air in from outside where it's nice and cool. But my apartment does not have good air circulation at all. It's really miserable. Um, so, one thing that should you maybe be obvious is if you eat something that's bad. I mean, like it's spoiled, it's rotten, it's got bacteria in it or something like that. That definitely is going to mess up your day. And you may think, oh, it's all happening up here. Well, it is, but it's also happening down here, and it's your brain is responding to the signals being sent from your second largest nervous system, which is in the gut. And there are many types of bacteria, hopefully not bad ones, that live in your gut, and they help to process your food for you. They help to break down things that your natural enzymes can't break down. They're a very, very important aspect of digestion. But when things are going wrong in digestion, what ends up happening is that means there's an emergency eventually when it reaches your gut biome, which is to say the ecosystem of your gut, um, because it negatively impacts your bacteria that are helping you. Your symbiotic relationship is being damaged. So that could be antibiotics, it could be bad food, it could be that you have Crohn's disease or any number of other problems. Maybe you're eating a lot of foods that are not good for your health, like fast food and junk food. Baked goods can be very bad for your health, especially if they're of the variety that use fats. And that typically means there's going to be trans fats in them, especially if they're fried like donuts, and even worse if they're deep fried. Um, so those can all have a negative impact on your bacteria. And when your bacteria have an emergency, they're going to somehow, and I don't know, I can't really explain it to you. I would assume that they have some kind of a chemical that they send out that gets picked up by the nervous system in your gut. And that message travels up to your brain and says, emergency, emergency. But of course, it doesn't look like that. It doesn't come out to you as emergency. It comes out to you as, oh, I feel miserable. I don't know what's wrong. I feel fine, but man, I just don't have any energy. And, or maybe you'll have a stomach ache. In that case, you'll be like, oh, okay. So it can come with an indicator of that it's coming from the gut or not. For me, one of the things that gets me is diarrhea. If I get diarrhea for some reason and I don't know I've got diarrhea, well, I will be just like, ugh. I'll be moving slowly, no energy. And as soon as I use the bathroom and get all that nastiness out, I'm like, whoa, so that's what it was. Now I feel good again. Um, so those kinds of things can negatively impact your mood because your gut biome is in an emergency state. It's in distress. There may be, maybe you got E. coli or some other kind of bad bacteria or parasite or something like that in your gut, and it's messing with you. Or maybe you've got diverticulitis, which is basically infection in your intestines, which can lead to death if you don't get it treated soon enough. There are a lot of possible reasons, but whatever it is, when the source of your problem is in the biome, your biome lets you know that there's something wrong. Now, when I lived in Indonesia, one of their solutions to that problem was to drink black coffee. I mean, just straight black coffee or something that was very different from your normal diet. So it had like a very different pH from what you normally would eat or drink. But coffee was generally the go-to that they would do. Black coffee, no sugar, no milk, because milk actually binds, the protein in milk binds with the antioxidants in the coffee and neutralizes them so that you don't get that benefit. Same with tea. So don't put milk in your coffee or tea anymore. But the theory is if you drastically alter the pH in your guts, that will get rid of whatever's causing the problem. And that sometimes may actually work, but not always. There is something to be said for changing the pH sometimes, but there's no guarantee. Or you might take activated carbon pills, because if you've ingested some kind of like food poisoning, not where it's the bacteria, but like say you had something sitting on the stove for days and days and you kept on reheating it, and then you ate it one day and you were just sick as a dog, which doesn't even make any sense because everything can get sick. But if you get really, really sick, basically food poisoning, then the carbon pills can help to absorb that food poisoning, but you have to get it in there fast enough. The sooner you realize you've got something going on in your gut, the sooner you deal with it, which could be activated carbon pills. It could be something that deals with in a different way, like Pepto-Bismol. It could be something that's like an antacid pill, because sometimes antacid pills make a difference when you're not feeling well. Sometimes mint can help, and so on and so forth. But one thing that I found that helped sometimes when I was having problems with diarrhea, especially if it was persistent, would be to drink a bunch of this, like it was a liquefied, I should say, yogurt. And I had one time I'd had diarrhea for a week. Everything was going out like a liquid. It was disgusting. I was frequently in the bathroom. I was not feeling well. And finally, my wife got me some of these little, they're called, it's from the Japanese one is called Yakult. And there was another one in Indonesia called VitaCharm. Well, she picked me up one or the other. I don't remember which one it was. And I had found that through experimentation that the plain flavor, which is not really plain, it's flavored and stuff, but the original flavor, I should say, would help with my stomach. And so I drank 2 bottles of that. And then an hour later, I drank 2 more bottles. My diarrhea disappeared. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work every time. I'm not going to say that it works for every situation, because that would not be true. And I do not believe in promoting things as a cure-all, because anytime I've heard of somebody saying, oh, this is a cure-all, or this will always cure this kind of a problem, I know that they're lying. They're either ignorant or they're liars. It just isn't possible, because there are too many variances in humans. But there are other things aside from those that cause our stomachs to send us alarm signals. Like recently, I was put on a new medication to help me with my anxiety and depression. And that one made me feel unwell. And it didn't help my anxiety and depression. It made it harder for me to get out of bed. It made it hard for me to do anything. I'm still getting over the effects. I just stopped. I had the last pill of it 2 days ago, so I'm still getting that out of my system. And that's my explanation for why I haven't been very productive lately. But yeah, it put me in a kind of a down mood, lacking motivation, wanting to sleep a long time, and it just didn't help. And now that I'm getting off of it, I'm starting to feel better, and I'm hoping in the next couple 3 days maybe that I'll be feeling pretty normal again, so I can have that energy and drive that I used to have, which has never been huge, but certainly better than what I've got right now. And because I've been thinking about, not because I've been thinking about making this video for a couple of weeks, but that medicine was just taking all the energy away, So yeah, sometimes medicines can have a negative impact that causes you to feel unwell. Also, some kinds of foods, if your body has an intolerance to them. So like I'm intolerant to dairy products. My body can't digest it anymore because my body doesn't really make the enzyme anymore. And I'll get gas and bloating and at worst case diarrhea, and it won't feel nice, and it won't be nice for anybody around me either. Believe me, it's nasty. It's like sewer gas. And there are other things that can cause these problems, but primarily we're talking about bad food, food intolerances, medication, spoiled, well, not spoiled, but food with bacteria or something in it that's bad for us. All of those things can conspire to make us feel unwell or angry or sad. Another one that isn't well, it is, but it isn't, is sugar. If you get too much sugar, that's going to alter your mood too. Because eventually, as you keep on consuming excess amounts of sugar, your body starts to get into a position where it is negatively reacting to all the excess sugar. And that will cause you to have unexplainable mood swings, especially like sadness and crying jags and things like that. So, binging on sweets is not going to be good for you mentally. It's also not good for your health. Sugar has been shown to be addictive, and it is, except for the liars out there who try to claim that sugar is not responsible for diabetes and things like that. Sugar is something that you should try to minimize. Now, I know that there are people out there that are like, well, I'm not going to use any artificial sweeteners, and I'm not going to use sugar alcohols. And if you're just going to eliminate all the possible alternatives to sugar out there, then you're stuck with this thing that is, for a large percentage of the population, dangerous sugar. Instead of using something that is bad for a small amount of the population, like sucralose or erythritol or artificial sweeteners or other sweeteners, stevia, lo hong guo, or monk fruit, then you're being foolish because you're taking the larger risk that can cause long-term damage to your body versus the smaller risk that only affects a relatively small number of people. And I can't give you the percentages for that or anything like that. But, if you've heard rumors about sucralose being bad for you, if you try it and you're not having problems with it, and you go to the doctor before you start and he does some blood tests and stuff and urine tests and whatnot, and then you go to the doctor 6 months later and everything's looking better, and then you go another 6 months later and it's even better, you can safely say that most likely sucralose isn't a problem with you, or erythritol, or lo hong guo, or whatever it is. So you can take the very large risk of indulging frequently in sugary foods and suffer the consequences, or you can switch over and increase your chances of having better health. By the same token, make sure that when you're done with your food, put it away in the fridge so it stays fresh. Especially during the summer heat, things go rotten in a very short amount of time. Like if I make a pot of rice, 2 cups of rice in the middle of winter, and I leave it on my stove, it can sit there for a couple of days and still be perfectly fine. But when it's in the summertime, in less than a day, it'll start to be rotten. So you have to, and I don't keep my thermostat up high. I keep my thermostat low. Typically, my thermostat is at 60. So no matter what the temperature is outside, my heater isn't going to kick on unless it's lower than 60 degrees. So you have to take the whole thing about winter with a grain of salt. If you're hiking up your temperature in your house or apartment to 75 degrees, it's more like you're in like early summer. So you're going to want to put away your food sooner. Like the other day, my son, he had some leftovers. He forgot to put them away. He had made them in the evening. When he got up in the morning, he wanted to have them for breakfast. They were all fuzzy already. And it's, you know, it's a risk. So keep all of these things in mind. I think that sometimes we don't realize how much our behavior, especially our eating behavior and our use of pharmaceuticals, can potentially be bad for our mood. But it really is true. So thanks for watching, and I hope you've had a great day.